Hello friends, today we are going to talk on a very important topic, Buddha and His Dhamma, one of the finest literary creation by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. Millions of copies have been distributed and printed in many languages across the world. The book is considered as the Bible of the Buddhists. But there are few questions which needs to be answered today. The very first question is, what was the reaction of the Buddhist world when this book was published? Why this literary work was hurriedly placed in the category of religion then? And if the book was so popular, the book is so popular, why still it is out of canon? Again, there are certain questions which needs to be answered. What was the place of the book? What is the place of the book in the academic arena of India, even today also? How many among us know that Buddha and His Dhamma also can be or also is the part of English literature? Why hands of Indian writers fall short while mentioning Dr. Ambedkar's contribution to English literature? These are many questions. We could not find the appropriate, satisfactory answer even today also. Today we shall discuss how Buddha and His Dhamma came into formations. What were the limitations of the writers? What was the narrative style Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar adhered, and in what circumstances this book was written? Commenting on Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's writing is a job of great responsibility. Much has been said about his contribution to constitution, political science, philosophy, religion, economics, and many more. But less or nothing has been said about his contribution to English literature. Heaps of books are there written by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar in the libraries. But how many books are there talking about his contribution to English literature? This question that prompts many scholars like me to have talk with you on this issue. Many scholars may argue that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar himself wrote Buddha and His Dhamma with religious intention, and nothing is wrong in their argument. But there is a term intentional fallacy in English literature. It identifies what is held to be the error of the interpreting and evaluating as a work by reference to the interpretation or intention. The design or plan of the author in writing the work is necessary to be taken into consideration. W.K. Wimsatt and S.C. Beardsley proposed this term in 1946. It was well before the publication of Buddha and His Dhamma. Therefore, there are hundreds of grounds to argue that Buddha and His Dhamma is not mere a religious book. We will also try to discover what was the reaction of Buddhist world when this book was published. How did literary world react? How did literary world receive it? How did Ambedkarites look upon the book? And why this book is still non-canonical? These are many important questions which needs to be addressed today. It is claimed that whether the author has himself stated his intention in commenting on his work or whether his intention is simply inferred from the work itself, the intention is irrelevant because the meaning and the value of it resides in the actual text. The made object, which is the finished and free standing work itself. The close study of Buddha and His Dhamma reveals that the book is written with more than 45 different perspectives, and literary perspective is one of them. Today we shall try to discuss about literary angles, literary perspective of Buddha and His Dhamma at the same time. Why this important aspect, why this important perspective was never discussed. The book was hurriedly placed in the category of religion. But it will be too early to call Buddha and His Dhamma mere a religious document. This only angle developed by Buddhist or Ambedkarite scholars directly or indirectly try to hide multifaceted beauty of the Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's such a finest writing or such a beautiful literary creation. Needless to talk about Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar's greatness. The life story of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar reads like a Norwegian saga, or better still like a Jataka tale. Born in 1891, he is one of the brightest stars in the galaxy of Indian scholars. He has a multifaceted personality. He is generally perceived only as the leader of the depressed classes, but history has given comprehensive account of the trials and tribulations of the great son of the soil. That he is a humanist, he is economist, sociologist, educationist, political thinker, constitutional expert, labor leader, socio-religious reformer, journalist, and doubtless a great literarist as well. Dr. Ambedkar has written no epic, but he lived an epic life. He has left an indelible mark on the international literary scene through his intellectual essays. But it is regrettable that till now no English scholar in India has taken effort to prove literary evaluation of the book, nor it has been attempted by any research scholar for doctoral thesis. Ignoring Dr. Ambedkar's texts in India by Indian academician is also arguable. As stated, Buddha and His Dhamma is the culmination of Dr. Ambedkar's writing. Buddhists will accept it as the Bible, but more or less it is treated as a religious document only. And in the same direction it has been reading. It has curtailed literary beauty of the book as a result. Along with the conversion, Dr. Ambedkar recited 22 vows. Through them, the readers may come to conclusion the real reason why this profound and powerful book has made so much of resistance by the established class in the country. Dr. Ambedkar hardly appears in the philosophy, political science, economics, or sociology departments. Surprisingly, in the field of post-colonial studies, Dr. Ambedkar has been all but ignored. But due to the dominance of the high caste intelligentsia, this might have happened. The book is still non-canonical for the scholars of the English literature. The intention of this lecture is that Dr. Ambedkar's Buddha and His Dhamma must firmly fall within the canon, as it is a fine literary work, which can be proved in the light of prescribed traditional as well as modern literary parameters. The careful study reveals that various literary devices are employed by Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar as other writers. We can find the most brilliant characterization of Dr. Ambedkar in this book. Babasaheb was a man of literature. He had done plenty of reading of English literature. He read them in an inexquisite manner. Once he had stated, "I will do literary work." This shows the seeds of that literary bent of mind in him. Surprisingly, to mention over here that Babasaheb wrote a wise girl small skit based on Shakespeare's King Lear, and it was written during his school days and staged it. He could not devote much of his time for the literary creations due to his various reasons and busy schedules. as a social and political leader. Dr. Ambedkar was a social rebel who raised the banner of revolt against a cruel majority and iniquitous caste-ridden society. Professor P.D. Kaushik remarks, the life of Ambedkar is the India's success story par excellence. Dr. Ambedkar's mission was not confined to social, political and constitutional work only, but he had a great task to purify the adulterated traditional Buddhist literature. This is the important point where the intention, the purpose of Buddha and His Dhamma lie. His close study of Indian literature revealed him that so-called great literature in India had propounded their theories in such a beautiful and poetic language as gives pleasure to the ear, but at the risk of exploitation of humanity. According to Principal K.C. Gautam, I quote, few traditional philosophers consider them great thinkers, but in fact they have put meaningless and nonsense maxims and theories regarding epistemology, cosmology, ontology, and ethics according to the logical positivist school. This prompted Dr. Ambedkar for logical inquiry of real Buddhist literature. Dr. Ambedkar's revolt found full-blown reflection in his literature. His writing is very interesting. His government reports, public speeches, editorials, articles, dissertations, theses are some of the finest examples of Dr. Ambedkar's excellent English, his superb logic and his concern for the Indian nation as whole. Mr. Edwin Thompson, in his Enlist India for Freedom says about Ambedkar, I quote, Ambedkar, a master in his own very vigorous and individual fashion of the English language. He is the most exhilarating polemist, utterly fearless, with wide command of the expected and devastating illustrations. During his busiest schedule, he produced notable writing which attracted attention of the worldwide scholars. Ambedkar dared to raise many questions and tried to give answers aiming to provide a clear and consistent statement on the life and teaching of Buddha. He sincerely and impartially tried to find out the truth and link the most lost episode of the history together. This is the most important point in Buddha and His Dhamma. How Babasaheb tried to link the lost episodes in Buddha and His Dhamma is remarkable to read it out. He took help of available literature of Vedic age, Upanishads, religious books, scriptures, Buddhist literature, Smritis, Puranas, and studied various social changes. His arguments and logical interpretations about the main events in the life of Buddha, namely Parivrajya, the four Aryan truths, the doctrine of the soul, of karma and rebirth, and the bhikkhu, provides us a new way of thinking about these events in better logical manner. Dr. Ambedkar has tried to resolve contradictions about the Buddha's life and teaching. The inquiry made by Babasaheb Ambedkar about Buddhist life resulted in a beautiful creation of a literary work, and it has been the Bible for millions of Buddhists and Ambedkarites not only in India but also in abroad. Whenever there is a confusion among the Ambedkarites or Buddhists about understanding Buddha in an actual or real sense, the easiest answer is, if you want to understand Buddha properly, Buddha and His Dhamma, the great book written by Babasaheb Ambedkar, is the only and easiest way to understand a Buddha in a very rational manner. Thousands of books written on Dr. Ambedkar are available in the libraries, in the market, but they are silent about his contribution to English literature. This is the important point to discuss over here. Dr. Ambedkar's contribution to literature is an established branch of study in Marathi literature, but it is not so in case of English. Knowingly or unknowingly, it has remained undiscussed or less discussed area of English literature. Dr. Ambedkar's writing have created an area neglected by the scholars of English literature and even unnoticed by Indian English literarists. Professor Madhu Lemie rightly remarks that the country that neglects the great thinker like Dr. Ambedkar has really no future. As the Buddha and His Dhamma has not been attempted as English literary work, it becomes a primary responsibility of the scholars to prove it a literary work using the traditional as well as modern parameters of English literature. Aside from the pleasure of reading, literature has its own various aims and intentions and objects. Buddha and His Dhamma is the culmination of Dr. Ambedkar's writing. It is entirely a different creation of Dr. Ambedkar. Now, there are certain questions which needs to be addressed and answered. Is it an epic or saga? Is it a novel or a play? Or is it a biography of Buddha? Sangar Rakshit, a British Buddhist teacher, in his book Ambedkar and Buddhism, has raised certain questions. Was the Buddha and His Dhamma published in exactly the same form that Ambedkar himself led at the time of his death? And had Ambedkar really been able to complete the work in accordance with his original intentions? With regard to the first question, it would appear that the published version of the Buddha and His Dhamma differs from Ambedkar's own version in at least one respect, that is in it not including the preface which wrote for it on 15th March 1956. This preface, as we have already seen, did not appear in the print until 1980, when Bhagwan Das, a well-known Punjabi Buddhist literate, included it in his rare preface written by Dr. Ambedkar. These are all interesting questions attempt scholars of literature to probe into this matter. These and many questions are there which needs to be answered. With regard to the question whether Ambedkar had really been able to complete the Buddha and His Dhamma in accordance with his original intention, it is necessary to go back to the speech which he delivered at Dehu Road on 25th December 1955. Dr. Ambedkar has shown entirely a different facet of his writing style, temperament, and approach while handling the saga of Gautam Buddha. But at the same time, as a well-disciplined writer and a logically equipped liar in him, conscious while entering in various inquiries related to the Buddha's life and teaching, he clears his intention of the book in the introduction itself. The Buddha and His Dhamma, this book is one of the most important books ever written by Babasaheb. In this book, he not only glorified the life of Buddha, but also raised many questions which are traditionally as problems discussed in Buddhist literature, and tried to answer them in the most logically and historically. The first problem raised in this book is related to the main event in the life of Buddha, namely Parivrajya. Why did Buddha take Parivrajya? The traditional answer is that he took Parivrajya because he saw a dead person, a sick person, and an old person. This answer is absurd on the face of it. The Buddha took Parivrajya at the age of 29. If he took Parivrajya as a result of these three sides, how is it he did not see these three sides earlier? Dr. Ambedkar also tried to answer these questions in the most logical and historical answers. There are other problems related to the four Aryan truths, the doctrine of the soul, of karma, rebirth, and also about Bhikkhu. The book helps readers to understand the life of Buddha in proper manner. Buddha and His Dhamma is a long narrative written by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. There are various direct addresses found in this book, which are essentially a part of essential parts of narrating a historical story. In this interlocution, Buddha and His Dhamma Dr. Ambedkar makes it clear to the readers that anyone who is not Buddhist finds it extremely difficult to present the life and teaching of Buddha in a manner which would make the consistent whole. Depending on Nikayas, not only the presentation of a consistent story of the life of the Buddha becomes difficult thing, and the presentation of the same part of the teaching becomes much more so. Indeed, it would not be exaggeration to say that of all the founders of religions in the world, the presentation of the life and teaching of founder of Buddhism presents a problem which is quite puzzling, if not baffling. Therefore, Dr. Ambedkar is very careful in using proper and better narrative technique, which would help the readers to enter into the historical story with mythological background and argumentative explanations. He not only tells the story to the readers but also reconstructs it with logical interpretations, which are now new, surprising, logically sound, and thought-provoking. This effort of reconstructing the story helps the readers and intellectuals to re-understand the Buddha and his life event in the light of logic. How can a scholar like Dr. Ambedkar accept anything without its scrutiny? This is the important question the readers must raise over here. It must have been a challenging task, even for Dr. Ambedkar, to produce such a work which will be a suitable form, not only for common masses, but also for studies document for intellectuals. This discussion will definitely help you to have primary ideas about the creation of Buddha and his Dhamma for the readers. In next lectures, we will try to understand how the formation of Buddha and his Dhamma took place, what were the circumstances, what were the hardships Babasaheb had to do in the due course of publication of this wonderful book. Thank you very much.